The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So, in celebrating Hanukkah at the home of a Hasidic rabbi known as Chaim Rottenberg, in the suburb of Monsey, New York, there were 100 Jewish worshipers there, and then an attacker basically kicked the door open, burst open the door, wielding a machete, ends up stabbing 5 of the worshipers. So the person who actually did the stabbing was caught driving back on the George Washington Bridge. 38-year-old Grafton Thomas. Now, for those not familiar with the tri-state area, driving back towards the GW Bridge, that you're basically going back to Jersey. Governor Andrew Cuomo has condemned the attack, called it an act of domestic terrorism. But Thomas's friends and family and lawyers, they say that he's had a long history of mental illness, including being schizo, but none of violence or being hateful towards Jewish people or being with white supremacists. So couch this in the fact that there was a shootout that happened in Jersey City that they're saying was anti-Semitic. It happened in front of a kosher store and all of that, as well as there was another scenario where a Jewish worshiper was attacked in Monsey on his way towards the Jewish synagogue. Green Wall Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So yesterday in White Settlement, Texas, which is right outside of Fort Worth, Texas, at the West Freeway Church of Christ, there was a gunman that actually opened fire on the worshipers during a Sunday morning service, and actually killed 2 of the worshipers before he was actually gunned down by armed parishioners. Now this is actually gives credence towards people having arms. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't killed by police or anything. He was killed by the people that were working at the church or whatever. So, but at the same time, it also shows how we're kind of used to this shit. You know what I'm saying? Desensitized about it. So it's food for thought, something to think about. White Settlement, Texas. I mean, that sounds like some racist shit. Maybe. Let me stop, man. That's what happened. Green Wall Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So on Friday, there was actually an attack that an airstrike that took place on a U.S. military base in Kirkuk, Iraq, that actually killed a U.S. military contractor. Now, apparently in response to this, yesterday the U.S. actually launched airstrikes in Syria and Iraq, and targeting what they're saying was a paramilitary group that's backed by Iran, because they're blaming Iran for the attack, even though Iran is denying having anything to do with it. Now, the Kataib Hezbollah militia group is not to be confused with Hezbollah in Lebanon. They're actually saying that the U.S. attacks actually killed 25 people. So this is escalating tensions. Iran is saying that they're considering the U.S. attacks to be an act of terrorism, and then Iraq is saying that the U.S. kind of violated their sovereignty. So it's escalating tensions between them and the United States. Green Wall Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So the United Nations is actually reporting that beef that's been going on in Idlib, Syria, the northwestern province of Syria, where the Russian-backed Syrian government has actually been coming down on that area, trying to take control of what is considered the last rebel-held area in Syria. It's been causing a lot of people to flee, and the United Nations is saying that 250,000, a quarter million, have actually fled the area. And aid groups are worried that in this 9-year war that's actually taking place in Syria, this could actually lead to the worst humanitarian crisis out of the 9 years. So, get all eyes on Syria in that regard. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So over in Somalia, actually, in the capital of Mogadishu, on Saturday, there was a deadly truck bombing that took place that actually killed 79 people and wounded at least 150 of them. Now, this is the deadliest attack that's actually happened in Somalia in the last 2 years. And in response to that, the United States, the Pentagon says the United States carried out airstrikes throughout Somalia targeting Al-Shabaab specifically, killing 4 people in doing so, but they didn't. There's no group that actually claimed responsibility for the attack. Now, keep in mind that the United States has increasingly been launching airstrikes in Somalia since April 2017. They've killed 800 people. So shit is real over there, and the U.S. definitely is getting their hands dirty. Green War and graduation. The new world order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. Make sure y'all sign that petition, y'all. Get Donald Trump on Twitter. Find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, or my Instagram account, GradyGrant716 in the bio. Lays out exactly why you removed from the platform. Don't at me unless you watch that unless you read that motherfucker. And check out my mixtape too, the only Instagram mixtape ever, at still_I grind, the prelude to the album that's on the way. Now, into Afghanistan, so the Taliban's ruling council actually has agreed to a temporary ceasefire, which could open the door for a potential peace deal between the United States and the Taliban. Keep in mind, there's been on and off negotiations between the U.S. and the Taliban, and that's been going on in Qatar. And they've been stopped. You know, the Trump administration has actually stopped them. Trump himself has stopped it due to like the violence of the Taliban, whatever. But yeah, we're still trying to negotiate them. It's a little confusing, but this could potentially end the longest war in U.S. history in Afghanistan. Green War and graduation. The new world order, Bishop Grady, like y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So in southern Yemen yesterday, there was actually a missile strike that took the lives of 10 people. This was at a military parade for a UAE backed separatist group, UAE being the United Arab Emirates. Now, there were 6 soldiers apparently and 4 children killed, and we're saying at least 10 people were killed. People are blaming Houthi rebels who've been fighting off against Saudi Arabians and the UAE personnel, both countries backed by the United States through a big arms deal, and they actually have not yet responded to the allegations, but that's what happened in southern Yemen yesterday. Green War and graduation. The new world order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So the Washington Post put out a story about President Trump's personal lawyer, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and him having a back channel phone call with President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, back in 2018 in September, where he was basically trying to get him out of power and open up Venezuela for business. Now, I also want to call was then Republican Congressmember Pete Sessions in Texas. They were essentially opening it up for business. This was a call that was supported by business interests, according to the Washington Post. So could feed to the narrative of why there's been this all-out offensive against Nicolas Maduro politically, trying to get him out of power, and getting Juan Guaido to be acknowledging him as the president or whatever, and doing all of that to make Venezuela look bad. But Venezuela is also making itself look bad with these with that currency situation, with them currency being worth little to shit. Green War and graduation though. In the world of the Bishop Grady, let y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over in France, keep in mind they've been protesting, the people out there have been protesting crazy against this pension overhaul that President Emmanuel Macron actually has set up, where it'll raise the retirement age and everything. A lot of people aren't having it, so it's been shut down in some parts, you know, and people are all for it. This strike has entered its 25th day, making this the longest strike in French history in the past 3 decades. Green War and graduation. Reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, let y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So remember I told y'all earlier this month how Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, Putin being the leader of Russia, they actually had met in Paris and were basically coming to terms on making a peace agreement between the 2 countries. Well, they actually fulfilled part of that when they had a prisoner swap, and basically they exchanged 76 pro-government prisoners for 120 Russian-backed separatist prisoners. So they got that underway, you know, maybe the start of some beautiful music between the 2 countries. Now this comes as Secretary of State, our Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is actually set to meet on January 3rd with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. Be the first time they've actually had a meeting since Trump has been impeached for his phone call urging Zelensky to open up an investigation against the Bidens. Green Wall and graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So there are wildfires that are still raging through Australia. There was a firefighter actually died on Monday, and keep in mind that even in some people in the southern state of Victoria were actually told it was too late to evacuate amid these worsening conditions. Temperatures hit 104 degrees throughout the country today. It actually showed that so the government is still planning on having New Year's Eve fireworks in Sydney tomorrow, but there's like 250,000 of the people that have actually signed on to a petition urging the government to cease those fireworks and give the money to basically give it to the firefighters and the farmers instead. You know, the people that are suffering from these fucking wildfires. But I guess people love their fireworks. The governments love to celebrate that shit, like holidays and shit, right? I don't know. Green Wall and graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for the Black Fox News Report. So over in Georgia, a federal judge has actually backed the government's decision to purge 100,000 voters from the voting registration block. Then we're talking about just months before the 2020 primary. Now, this Georgia is already one of those states that's like under increased scrutiny due to their voter suppression practices, especially as it pertains to black and low income communities. We know shit like this never would have happened when my girl Stacey Abrams was in there. You know what I'm saying? Spell McGrath, AUC, what up? For me now, because you know I'm with the Morehouse of Days. But check this out though. Another Georgia news: the Democratic Congress member and civil rights legend, civil rights legend John Lewis has actually been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. This is somebody that was almost beaten to death for leading a voting rights movement during the civil rights era when Martin Luther King was around and all of that, whatever. And you know, led a march in Selma. You know, they even showed him in a Martin Luther King movie. So he definitely left a stain on the civil rights legacy. But he said he's never, you know, he's been fighting for these things his whole life, but he's never had a fight quite like this one. Green Wall and graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over on Capitol Hill on Friday, they actually had so you know, Oscar-winning actress Jane Fonda. You know what I'm saying? One of them old white ladies that you could tell used to look banging back in the day, right? You know what I'm saying? And you know, for the old head, she still got it, right? She's actually been leading this weekly civil disobedience climate justice demonstrations on Friday called Fire Drill Friday over in Capitol Hill, right? And this coincides with the Fridays for Future protests that have been going on around the world, where students have actually been leaving school and protesting, demanding their governments do something about climate change, right? So amidst this act of civil disobedience, comedy star Lily Tomlin was actually arrested in this. But when Jane Fonda actually gave a speech talking on Capitol Hill, she actually said this movement has been unbelievably successful. They've already taken $11 trillion out of banks that are underwriting fossil fuel expansion. So salute to Jane Fonda, Green Wall and graduation, and Lily Tomlin, you know?